We welcome you here tonight. My name is Andy Wahlberger. I'm the Executive Director of Spire. We're excited to have you here at the California Club to honor Fred and Peter. Welcome to this evening. I'd like to introduce the Chairman of Spire, Stanford Professionals in Real Estate, Sam Freshman, to say a few words, and then we'll get this evening started.
I want to thank you all for coming, and particularly thank our honorees for allowing us to twist their arms. And I think Fred's arm there may be a little sore still, but we've got a great program tonight, and if you can make it, we have a great program in November up on the campus. And I met a few nice young guys, Fred, out there with your firm, but they don't carry business cards. I told them I was going to tattle on them. I've only made, for them, that is, those of you who are in the real estate business less than 5 years, I have to remind you that there's two great mistakes that I made. I didn't buy enough and I sold too soon. Enjoy your dinner and enjoy the program, and I'll see you up in Palo Alto.
My name is Chad Hagel. I am the president and one of the co-founders of Spire. I am so honored to be here tonight amongst all of you and to be here for this Hall of Fame induction dinner here at the California Club in Los Angeles. To all of you Spire members, members of the Stanford Real Estate Council, previous Hall of Fame honorees, our Spire Board of Directors, gracious event sponsors, to our core sponsor, Alan Matkins, to the family, the friends, and the guests of tonight's honorees, and of course to the men of the hour, Peter Bedford and Fred Allen. Welcome. Welcome to this 5th annual Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame. As I stand up at this podium for the 5th time in so many years and look out across the room, I think about how remarkable this event has been and how important of a place it has played in my life for the past half-decade. This evening is a milestone, not only for me, but for the organization. It is a wonderful time for Spire, and as we have reached our 5th year, it is a time of great transition when we shift from being a highly successful startup alumni organization to becoming a fixture in the Stanford landscape and an institution of the university. As I look at the honorees this evening and thought about their careers, their achievements, and everything that they stand for, there were 3 words that came to my mind: innovation, achievement, and excellence. And those are 3 aspirations that we at Spire have for our organization as well, and why we're so pleased to honor these men who embody those traits. This past year, we had a board retreat to mark our 5th year of the organization, and at that retreat, we reaffirmed the 3 pillars of our organization. And I want to just share those with you to give those of you that aren't familiar with Spire a snapshot of what our organization stands for. The 3 pillars of our mission are alumni professional networking, student outreach, and educational program development. In addition to reaffirming those 3 pillars, we set out what is a new cornerstone for our organization and is a core part of our values and our mission, and that is innovation. This past year, it has been a great pleasure to see the focus of the organization shifting toward innovation, which is such a Stanford trait and such a Stanford value and virtue. and that's one of the reasons why we highlighted it so much as a part of our organization. Perhaps one of the greatest embodiments of that innovative spirit is a member-driven program within Spire that was initiated this year called Inspire, which is an incubator for innovation within the real estate industry that pairs students and faculty with those of us working in the real estate industry to attack real-world problems and come up with innovative solutions, and ultimately to incubate startup companies out of the innovative ideas that are brewed by that melting pot of innovation and that spirit of achievement. To highlight some of the achievements of Spire from this past year, in addition to our regular alumni events in our regions around the country and some wonderful exclusive events and programming for the Stanford Real Estate Council, we also this year launched a very successful mentor program which paired 50 students at Stanford with alumni mentors. And the stories that I heard out of that program were far more impressive to me than the number of participants. I heard from not just mentees, but mentors that had their lives permanently changed in a positive way by the interaction that they had with their mentee. We held a series of events on campus focused on giving students access to and an understanding of the real estate industry, including a careers in real estate panel. And we co-hosted a program on the Stanford campus with Women in Real Estate, WIRE, to promote opportunities for women graduating from Stanford and entering the real estate industry. On the educational front, we co-sponsored this year, for the first time ever, a new course in the architectural design program at Stanford, which focused on designing creative office campuses in the built environment. And John Barton, who runs the architectural design program at Stanford, who will speak at our Hall of Fame banquet in Palo Alto this year, is the lead of that new program. As we look forward and focus on that goal of excellence, we keep setting the bar higher and higher to reach the standard of excellence that Stanford University stands for itself. I feel a personal obligation, and our board feels an obligation to carry that baton, to represent Stanford, and to maintain that standard of excellence that has been established. In a way, we have the easiest job in the world because we've been given such a phenomenal platform from which to work. But we won't rest on our laurels, I promise that. This is a time of transition, as I said, and it's an important time for the organization. Sam Freshman, the chairman of the board, who has so wonderfully served in that role, will serve in that role for the last time this year at our Hall of Fame inductions, and he will be succeeded by our vice chair, Louis Cohen, who will be assuming the chairmanship going forward next year. Andy Wahlberger, who has done a fantastic job and is 4 years into a 2-year commitment to serve as the executive director of Spire, will be passing his baton as well. And we'll be laying the groundwork for a new executive director to carry this organization in the next 5 years and beyond. If we were to look ahead at this next year, 2016, and if Spire were to have a 2016 theme song, that song would be London Calling, because we will be looking forward this year to a couple of wonderful events that I want to highlight. In 2016, in the spring, we will be hosting, thanks in large part to Buzz McCoy and his efforts to bring a very, very strong relationship to the table with the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors and with the Counselors of Real Estate, the second ever global symposium on real estate development, the first one having been held at Harvard many years ago. Definitely yay Buzz. And then to follow up on that, in the summer, we will be taking the second international excursion of the Stanford Real Estate Council to London in July. We have a very, very exciting year ahead, and we have a very, very exciting evening ahead tonight. Continuing with our theme of excellence, I think that, well, I know that you all are in for a real treat tonight. I want to really provide kudos to Susan Nieslas and Big Bite Media. You're about to see the first of our 2 tribute videos this evening for Peter Bedford, and it's remarkable to see how these videos have evolved over the past 5 years. And I think the quality of the presentations this year is phenomenal, and I know that you're all going to enjoy it very much. And spoiler alert, I'll throw that out there, so anyone plug your ears if you don't want to hear something about the next video. I mentioned to Peter this evening when I met him, one of the aspects that's covered in the video that I could really relate to is he talked about how he and I as well both started in the real estate industry with an investment that came from our respective fathers. Not a gift, not a gift. There's an important distinction. But the way that our respective fathers handled that tough love introduction to the real estate industry helped to cultivate for me, and I think hearing Peter's story as well, a sense of self-reliance, learning to enjoy and appreciate the successes that came through our work, and learning to weather the hard times, knowing that we possess the resilience to bounce back. So that's what I think of when I hear Peter's story, and I think you're going to enjoy hearing that story for yourselves and watching the video to come. Enjoy.
I always knew what I wanted to do, which was go into the real estate business. My dad was probably my biggest mentor as I reflected on thinking about my life, in that he instilled in me a lot of principles and ideas. Basic principle was constantly being that you had to understand the creation of capital rather than selling a service. When you're sleeping at night, someone's paying you rent. During the summers, I worked for an electric company as an electrician's apprentice on my father's and his partner's properties in Oakland, and learned a lot about the construction industry and how it operated. Coming to Stanford was a treat for me because I'd been to a boys' school from the 7th to the 12th grade and never been into a class with ladies. And fortunately, in July 4th, 1956, I met a young lady who was going to Stanford with me, and we dated ever since and married for 54 years. When I left Stanford, I went into the Navy for 3 years, and then came back and was going to go to business school. And I got accepted at Harvard, and was all set to go. But I had a long talk with my dad, and he said, "Are you a pupil or a student?" He said, "Well, why don't you get into business for yourself?" So I started managing properties for Bedford Butner and made a deal on West Grand Avenue they paid me $2,500, And I built a little office building for Richfield Oil Company, which they turned around and sold for $250,000. And I said, well, I can do this. In the 60s, I started doing convenience markets. And I borrowed money from my dad to support the convenience markets. I borrowed about $150,000 from him, I remember. And he said, I'll sign a note. You sign a note and I'll give you the money, but I want it back in 6 months. Well, 6 months came and I said, hey, Dad, I can't pay you back. I got this wonderful letter from him that said, Dear Peter, your mother and I won't always be around. You got to learn to be on your own. This is our notice to you to pay off the loan. So I was shocked. And I took my projects down to the Bank of America. So they loaned me the money. And I said, under one condition, there's no guarantee for my father. And they said, we don't expect it. And that's why I banked with the Bank of America for all my development life. So I would buy a site. I did 1, and then I did 3, and then I did 5. I ended up involved in about 100 units of 7-Eleven over a period of time of 10 years. I was known as the 7-Eleven King. We did a very large project in the 70s for the Clorox Company, their headquarters in the Port of Oakland Industrial Park, which we financed with the insurance company and were able to, and the regional headquarters for the Bank of America.
He, at one point in time, was probably the largest single individual borrower from Bank of America. That's how big a developer he was, and he was building stuff all over the country.
My first impression was, he's a big, gregarious, very powerful kind of guy, and you could see that he had the makings of a pretty good little real estate empire going on. After I'd worked for him for a while, he said, okay, I'm going to give you the opportunity to be a partner in one of these warehouse projects. So I had a handshake deal with Peter as a partner. I think I had a 12.5% interest in that. After the building sold, I thought that was it, and maybe I'd get a little something out of it. But a few weeks later, I got a check handed to me for $831,000, which was my full share of the value of that office building, and that was very unique. There were very few people in the industry that would have given a young guy starting out a check for $831,000.
Peter was not easily intimidated. On this particular occasion, Hoover was having their annual dinner. Elizabeth Taylor was seated next to Peter. And after they settled themselves into their seats, she looked over him and sort of raised an eyebrow and said, "Why am I sitting next to you?" Peter gave about 3 seconds delay, looked her in the eye and said, "I'm your host."
In 1986, I did my biggest project was the acquisition of Kaiser Aluminum's real estate for about $450 million. My partner, Kemper Insurance Company, loaned me the infrastructure money, and we had about $2 billion in loans outstanding. They decided in 1992 that they wanted to get out of the real estate business like right now. So we parted our ways, and that's how I got into the REIT business. I owned about 30% of the company and decided to use that as my financial base in building a portfolio of properties. We went from $20 million in assets to about $860 million in sales.
In the time he managed the company, the overall return was 18.2% per year, compounded for 14 years. $1,000, 14 years later would be over $10,000. I mean, he made the stockholders very wealthy.
Whenever we'd be in competition for a tenant and he'd win, he'd send me flowers. I'd show up in the morning in the office and there's a new bouquet at the receptionist's desk. I would say, "Uh-oh, we just lost another one to Peter."
One of the great stories I love that Peter told me is that I'd asked him where he was, and he said, I had just gotten back from the Midwest. I flew out to look at a project, and basically I thought it might be just to observe, but he said he dressed as a janitor and walked the property and talked to tenants to see if they were happy with the property. And that's a pretty amazing thing to do.
Peter and I were both involved over many years in an organization known as the Urban Land Institute. We were pioneering about 20 years ago the concept of district councils, of having an urban land activity in every major city, and since then it's gone international. And the project was failing, and Peter offered to put up $500,000 to keep it going for one more year, behind the scenes. I don't think very many people know about that. And so they did it for one more year, and it suddenly turned around, and it was the major impetus in the growth of the Urban Land Institute over the last 20 years.
I'm a 70-year-old man with 22-year-old twins. By the time I came to know Mr. Bedford, we'd had about 8 years of infertility, still no children, and we went for 5 more years, and the costs went up and up and up and up, and the insurance under Bedford paid it all the time, and my doctor neighbor was aghast. He said, insurance doesn't pay for infertility, these kind of treatments. Well, years later, I found out, not from Peter, but from the chief financial officer, that Peter had been paying that. Kind of chokes me up.
Peter has a really refined taste in art. I met Peter in the mid-'80s. He called me up and said, I'd like you to come by and talk about doing some work for me. And the one thing I noticed was that on all the walls of his office were really amazing pieces of art, and I couldn't really even pay attention during the meeting because I was going like, is that a real O'Keeffe? Is that it's like the artwork was probably worth more than the building he was in at that time.
One of the things that my dad gave to me was that you have to set your life into 3 venues. You have to be able to live off your salary, or your hobbies, or your investments. My dad, in his life, he made more money in the appreciation of his gun collection than he did working for Henry Kaiser and Company. As a result of that, my wife and I had hobbies together. Our hobby is building an art collection for ourselves.
His intense interest in art carries forward into his buildings. And I think that good buildings are aesthetically pleasing, functional, and economic. And a lot of developers forget the aesthetics part. Peter doesn't.
The most significant project, I think, that had the most impact was the Napa Valley Corporate Park. And I had done the logo for it, and the logo was a grape crusher. We started talking about that truly this could be an opportunity to do a great piece of art. And to this day, that statue is actually the gateway when you come into the wine country, and no one knows that Peter Bedford is responsible for it.
Well, I've done a few things for Stanford which align with our interests. One is we've given art to the school, including Beverly Pepper sculptures, Frank Stella nightgown sculpture. And then for Hoover, I established a fund for my father on property rights. And then I've continued to do that in instilling a chair in private property rights for the Hoover Institution.
Our carillon, which is a collection of bells, came to us from Belgium. You have to have them reclad every now and again, and it was time for them. They get out of tune. Peter stepped forward and bought a big one, which means an expensive one.
Peter is an icon of real estate developers for our generation.
To really endure a long-term career and achieve success under multiple market conditions, that's rare. And to do that while at the same time caring about your shareholders and your employees and your friends professionally that are around you, that's something really special.
Peter is the most generous man I know. He will give you anything. If you're Peter's friend, there's lots of laughing, lots of kidding, lots of joking, and he has your back.
Peter is a wise man. He's a man that's interested in other people. He has become, in many ways, my counselor for 25 plus years.
Well, I think the one thing I'd like to do is to find the right place for older people to live in as a development over time. which would combine the beauty of a project that included art, included a lot of the things that Kirsten and I have experienced together. I think I'd like to try my hand at putting a community together like that. It's going to be in Napa, in the vineyards. Be fun.
Well, we wanted to bring someone here tonight to do a personal introduction for Peter Bedford. Now, this individual is a Hall of Fame honoree himself, was a partner at Morgan Stanley, pioneered investment banking and real estate, but most important, Buzz McCoy is a friend of Peter Bedford.
Good evening. The Spire folks asked me how I wanted to be introduced this evening. I responded, as a friend of Peter. Now, being a friend of Peter entails a great many entitlements and obligations. You get the use of a corporate jet, unlimited quantities of fine wine to drink, exposure to a fine art collection he and Kirsten have amassed, and a deeply committed supporter of things you both care about, like Stanford, Hoover, the Urban Land Institute, the Bohemian Grove. As a committed friend of Peter, you're also expected to have a strong sense of personal values, an entrepreneurial spirit, a sense of humor, and dedication to a balanced life. Most business and professional people spend their lives building a self-promotional resume, myself included. Very few devote their lives to leaving behind a legacy which empowers countless others to achieve their full potential. To the best of my knowledge, Peter has no resume. Peter does have a long list of quietly accomplished acts of empowerment in the lives of others. He quietly funded and supported the development effort at the Hoover Institution, which transformed Hoover. He quietly funded and supported the district council program at ULI, which sparked their renewed growth over the past 20 years. Anonymously, personally funding extraordinary medical expenses of a loyal employee, while insisting it was all covered by company insurance. Inspiring loyalty and trust among his employees, several of whom have been with him for over 30 years of service. Peter's performed numerous acts of warm hospitality and gracious generosity. As part of the sale to Peter of over $1 billion of real estate from Kaiser, I had to perform due diligence for the Kaiser board on Peter's ability to carry off the deal. I found myself sitting in a helicopter with Peter, surveying his strategic land holdings on the East Bay transportation grid, as acquired over a number of years. The land assembly was brilliant. It was a work of art. The Kaiser deal did not work out for Peter, but he came back from it. A few years later, he nominated me to be a trustee of his newly formed real estate investment company. Furthermore, he positioned me to serve as chair of the compensation committee, where I determined his compensation. He's generous beyond measure, an unassuming and largely unrecognized philanthropist. I'm proud to introduce him to you tonight. Please welcome our friend, Peter Bedford, the 2015 Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame.
Thank you all. I just got a new set of eyes, so I have a tough time recognizing everybody. I apologize. And Buzz, thank you very much for your kind words. Buzz has been a partner in a lot of our endeavors. He's done a wonderful job. And also, Fred Allen, congratulations. Wonderful job. This is the first honor I've ever had from Stanford. When I was there, I had a tough time being on the honor roll. My grades were not great, and I wanted to thank my wife, Kit, who put me through school with her help after 54 years, so you've done the job. In fact, I don't think I would have graduated without you. Thanks for hanging around. I appreciate Spire selecting me for this honor. It is a great tribute to be selected, especially when I joined two of my Alpha Delta fraternity brothers, Bill Wilson and Bill Tooley. We were all in the same house at Stanford at the same time, and I think they inspired me to do what I did. Of note, I want to thank also that have helped me in my struggle as a developer and put me in the wonderful position I'm in today. I would like to thank those who provided me the capital to expand my horizons in the marvelous world of real estate, and I tried to pay all of you back. If I missed some, I apologize. It's a great business, and you get what you put into it. And please remember some axioms that I live by. Get into a business that when you're sleeping at night, someone is paying you rent. Manage capital, don't sell a service. I apologize to all you lawyers. Always leave a little in it for the next guy. Be an owner. Timing is the most important thing. A good deal doesn't need money. Analyze, organize, and deputize. Always have an exit, and your word is your bond. And I thank you all here for this honor. Also remember this quote from Edwin Markham. There is a destiny that makes us brothers. None goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others comes back into our own. Thank you.
What a fantastic tribute to Peter. I am very pleased and I enjoy that this Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame honor has really become a family affair. We've all heard the saying, behind every great man is a great woman. And that's why tonight we equally pay tribute to Kit and Kathleen while we honor their husbands. But I'd like to expand on that, saying one step, if I may, and add to that that behind every great man is a great family. Because great men cultivate great families, and I believe very much in that. I myself am very, very pleased to have here tonight for the first time my two sons, Braden and Camden, who are here for their first Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame banquet, to see what their dad does on all these nights when he just disappears. And I would invite them in particular, as we watch the next video to pay tribute to Fred, to listen carefully to John and Paul Allen and how wonderful a tribute they pay to their father, so that just in case someone might ever be crazy enough to make a movie about your dad one day, you might have some good things to say about the old man. Every year, I really enjoy the opportunity to get to know the families of the honorees and to meet them and to share this time with them. But what's a little different this year is this year I feel like Fred is family. We have worked together for 5 years now on the board of Spire, and Fred brings his passion, his energy, his unique Fredness to every moment. Fred is that wonderful uncle that sits at the end of the table at Thanksgiving, drinking his signature cocktail and spinning stories about the world and the great things that are out there. You know, Dos Equis may have the most interesting man in the world, but in Fred Allen, Spire is blessed to have the most interesting man on the board. If it wasn't for Fred, Spire would not be here today. If it wasn't for the continuing generosity, support, and ironclad energy that Fred, Mike Matkins, Rick Mallory, and all of the other partners of Alan Matkins have brought to support this organization, I'm very confident in saying that we would not be here today. None of us would be here. Fred, I want you to know that we at Spire respect you, we appreciate you, and we truly love you. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this tribute to Fred Allen.
My first impression when I met Fred was I couldn't believe he was an attorney. The guy was such a live wire and kind of jocular in style, just very outgoing. I said, this guy can't be an attorney because an attorney can't be very good.
He's not the kind of lawyer that chews you up and spits you out, gets angry, screams and hollers. Fred taught me by example not to get excited, to relax, or in his words, take it easy.
When other people are around, he's like the Energizer Bunny. He never stops.
Fred has a big heart. He's a wonderful person. He knows how to separate business from pleasure. And then in the end, it all comes back together again. And his business associates are also his friends.
My mother was my primary mentor. She wanted us to become the best we could be. And achievement was expected. My mother wanted me to be influenced by my uncle, Bud Conway, who was an entrepreneur in the construction business. And they made sure I worked very hard, maybe harder than anybody. My love of construction and real estate really started there. After my mother, Bud Conway was a true mentor for me. And he was the one who suggested that I should go to Stanford. Stanford shaped me totally. The professors, classmates, sports, Hoover. I can thank Stanford for helping introduce me to my future wife.
My brother brought Fred home from Stanford to my parents' Christmas party.
Her brother said to me, "You're a pretty good guy, but I only have one request." He said, I hope you never speak to my sister."
I was 14. Fred was 19.
It was love at first sight.
Fred loves Stanford football.
My father never misses a Stanford football game. Back in the day when they weren't very good, anytime a running back took it up the middle and didn't fumble, he would yell Heisman at the top of his lungs.
I suggested that we might attend my alma mater, Cal, and go to a few games there. And so as a family, we approached the Cal campus in a car, and we never really slowed down. He did a U-turn, and we were back across the bridge.
On the last day of school at Stanford, I was commissioned into the Navy. So I go on board that ship, and it's a spectacular attack aircraft carrier, 4,000 men, 125 airplanes. I was an officer of the deck underway, which meant I was the captain of the ship, basically, for 4 hours a day, every day that we were out at sea. And if you think you were sort of grown up, you actually grow up when you're an officer. I got a letter, which I still have, from the parents of one of my seamen who worked for me in my special services group. And I'll probably never throw that letter away. And they said, from somewhere Idaho, "Thanks for taking such good care of my son. I know he's out there and it's a dangerous thing." And so that really was a shaping experience from the get-go. Near the end of law school, I decided, hey, I'd rather go and practice law for a year or two, and then I'll be a developer. I went to a great old 100-year-old law firm with a huge history of real estate called Stevens, Jones, Lefevre & Smith. I worked on the team, and they wanted to build a new headquarters building, which they did. They needed to find out how to get the building up to 62 stories under the existing zoning laws, which would have kept the building much shorter. And then later, by coincidence, our little firm, Allen Mackins, took space in that building on the 54th floor. And there were no law firms above us, and all the other law firms in town were below us. So I could tell all of our clients that we were the top law firm in Los Angeles.
Fred's sort of a rare combination. He is the inventor or founder of the modern real estate practice. In the 60s and 70s, all the way till the mid-70s, there weren't a lot of real estate lawyers. There were no real estate firms. So Fred and the other founding partners had the vision to form a real estate firm. And then they had to invent what should that be like.
His idea with Allen Mackins was to take the 8 of us that started that firm and surround us with more and more great quality lawyers that we could hand the ball off to and have them score for us in the legal community. And it worked out pretty well. We went from 8 to 200 fairly quickly.
A very unique skill set of Fred is his ability to be a talent scout and to attract very talented people to the firm, and then to set policies in place to motivate them to be the best they can be.
He's not somebody who's looking for all the glory, so it's pretty common for Fred to put his arm around somebody and say, this guy is the greatest lawyer in the world, or this guy is the smartest guy in the world, or this guy is the best businessman in the world.
This is the place where we hire lawyers that can work anywhere, but choose to work here because of our culture. And I attribute that to Fred. Fred would always take time to understand, how's your family? Gary, tell me about your daughter.
The skyline of Los Angeles is dotted with buildings that Fred was involved in. One of them that stands out is the Figaro at Wilshire building, because he was able to work with a team that was from Japan, Mitsui Fudosan USA team, from Texas, Gerald D. Hines, and the two of them managed and owned a project that is considered to be the finest office tower west of Chicago.
The Wilshire Figaro project was our first major office development in the United States, so that was very important for us. And Fred's office really helped in the process of entitlement, which was a very complicated one.
The people I worked with at Mitsui also developed the Hale Kalani Hotel in Hawaii, which is our favorite hotel.
In the early days of Allen Matkins, my partner Claire Peck and I asked Fred to represent us on a sticky situation in San Francisco where we wanted to demolish a building and get a building underway. An existing tenant would not move out, but we felt that Fred, with his social and legal and other skills, would be the right person to accomplish that for us. And in fact, he did. And from that point, Fred and the firm have represented us for all of our projects.
One of our best experiences in my career was representing Art Center College of Design. We helped them purchase and build their new campus in Pasadena. We are very proud of our relationship with Outrigger Enterprises, and they're an old-line private hotel developer and owner. And Outrigger owns 2 of the 7 hotels on Waikiki Beach.
I was having an intense meeting, this is probably 91, with a new client that were deciding whether they're going to hire us or not. We thought they were, and they were all Japanese. They're sitting in the conference room, and a little light bulb goes on that I should run to Fred's office, see if he's there, and bring him into the conference room so that he can close the deal. He came in, and the first thing he did was draw their attention to a bunch of miscellaneous photographs on the wall, and if they became a client of the firm, he could guarantee them that they could have the same photos in their offices and or take these ones with him. And then he told them, just from memory, every Japanese client we had, every Japanese transaction, they started to make a connection with those other Japanese clients. They forgot they were interviewing us. They thought they had already hired us, and by the time it was over, it was done.
Fred always said the most successful negotiator was the guy with the best bladder. They would be locked in a room. No one could leave the room until the deal was done. Fred could outlast anybody.
I was probably 12 years old when I first met Fred. His reputation preceded him, however. He was doing work with my father, Bill, and there were stories of Fred sleeping at the office for 2 and 3 nights in a row to get the documentation for certain deals done.
At Allen Matkins, it's always work hard, play hard, have fun. I think Fred is a very serious lawyer, a very serious businessman on the one side, and then the king of entertainment on the other side.
He makes sure everybody's having a good time. He starts administering tequila shots to enliven the crowd, and so always with the same old adage: tequila tonight, tomorrow we ride.
He's invented a drink, the Frederico. It's a special drink found only at the Mauna Kea Hotel.
A Frederico is basically a fruity rum drink that has a shot of Jack Daniels in it. He calls that shot the Velvet Hammer.
So Fred's the only guy I know with a drink named after him. The Frederico, the Mauna Kea, world renowned. Just like Fred, world renowned.
He's outgoing. Maybe to the extent of being a little off the cuff and maybe a little crazy at times.
I remember going to a Laker game in the 80s, and he met a guy in the bathroom, and I think they struck a deal, a business deal right then and there. That's the kind of guy he is. He's always talking to everybody, anybody, at all places, at any time.
He is the drum major. He's the guy leading the band. He is the guy with all the enthusiasm in the world. Everywhere he goes, if he's going on a flight, if he's going to be on a boat, if he's at a cocktail party, he's trying to develop new clients.
Allen Matkins is state-of-the-art. To have 31 partners in the list of the top lawyers in America in 2015 really tells a story.
His senior partners have pretty much all stayed and then retired, as opposed to gone off to start their own practice. So to me, that's always a testament to somebody's management skill and leadership abilities. The coal company, 33 years later, is still depending on his firm for their primary real estate advice, including Fred himself.
Fred Allen has built a real legacy in his career. Allen Matkins is one of the nation's most respected real estate firms. And Fred is caring. He cares about his clients, he cares about his friends, and he is a loving, loving family man. Just a wonderful human being.
Fred's legacy will be remembered as one of the most thoughtful and knowledgeable advisor on both legal and business issues that the California real estate community has ever known.
But for me, I think of him as best of class. Not only the law firm, his partners, his colleagues, but Fred himself. So he'll go down as a lawyer that people look back at and aspire to be like Fred was as a lawyer, and he's not giving up anytime soon.
It's been a good run. We've had hundreds of clients and great fun, hundreds of projects, all over the United States, Mexico, Asia, Hawaii.
I've had the great fortune of being on the board of Spire together with Fred over the last several years and watched him and his enthusiasm, and it's compelling.
I think Fred's legacy will be the number of lives that he touched, from the people who work in his firm to his clients to the many people who've been served by the projects that he and his lawyers have nurtured. Fred is ebullient, friendly, engaging, and you can't help but like the guy. You can't help but engage, so I'm really privileged to have gotten to know Fred because he's such a wonderful person.
He's a living legend, but to me, he's just my dad. He's the guy that coached the baseball team and Comes to all my musical performances. He's my mentor, my advisor. He's really like the head of my fan club.
He's never, without a story.
A short story, a long story, or a funny story.
He's also never without a hug or a wonderful, touching moment for his grandkids.
Yes. He loves to play with those kids.
Yes, he does. So congratulations, Fred. We are so proud of you.
Being married to Fred has broadened my view of life. I have sort of a wide-angle lens now.
What I would like to impart to my grandchildren is to always take really good care of their grandmother and their grandfather, and as they are now, and to grow up, to be well-educated, go to Stanford, be in the Olympic Games, and live happily ever after.
Congratulations, Papa. I'm so proud of you.
As we thought of someone to introduce Fred Allen for this award, we thought of, as you saw in the video, Fred has a tremendous client list and friends and colleagues, leaders of industry here in California. So we wanted to bring two principals and presidents of companies from the real estate, built environment, materials, and construction companies. And the room is full of these individuals. But the two people we wanted to bring have something very special have to do with Fred. And they are sons of Fred Allen, Paul Allen and John Allen.
Good evening.
Mucho gusto.
Never a dull moment.
Fred is famous for his one-liners. We call them Fredisms. And there are a few Fredisms that we can even repeat here tonight.
The pressure is building up.
Often said while Fred is relaxing on a beach or holding court on a bar stool.
This came for you in the mail.
While approaching a stranger or friend with a tequila shot, a pineapple, or even something less appropriate. When everything is going awry, Fred might declare,
"Just another day in paradise."
Minor detail, he says. But after all, it's all in the details. Fred is genuinely interested in people and what drives them. He's charming and disarming. He asks a lot of questions, and he has total recall. He remembers my friends' resumes better than I do. But it's this ability that makes him such a good connector, a matchmaker. It's the key to his success.
In the chaos that life generously dishes out, Fred's one-liners have always kept my world aligned, at peace. I knew that everything was going to be okay.
So we're here to shed a little light on the man he is outside of the office, the family Fred. He has an amazing ability to flip the switch from work mode to family mode. And you can always tell just by looking, because he only has 2 costumes. At the end of each day, off comes the work costume, the blue blazer, the blue button-down, red tie, and on goes the Hawaiian shirt. And then it's family time. When he was home with us, he was truly with us, present and engaged.
I think Fred's biggest gift to me was encouraging me to choose my own path. Even when we didn't see eye to eye, he gave me the freedom to explore the world and travel and live my dreams. And he did so with unfailing love and support.
Well, there was definitely some unconditional love going on there when I was learning how to play the drums. So, Fred has incredible drive, energy, and work ethic. And he's always pushed us to take full advantage of the head start he was able to provide for us. He had very high standards, high expectations. He was firm but fair. But what was most impressive and lasting is that he led by example. He's shown us what it is to be a family man, a loving husband, a great dad, and now a caring grandfather.
We couldn't be more blessed to have you as a father, and couldn't be more honored to be here tonight to introduce you.
So everyone, please rise and give a warm welcome to your 2015 inductee to the Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame, the one and only Fred Allen.
Well, you guys have so good at your delivery and your content that you should stay here and read my speech for me. And anyway, thank you very much, Paul and John, for that incredible intro. I have a couple more one-liners I know that you were not permitted to recite. And anyway, Kathleen and I are so proud of you guys and your families and these 4 little creatures that we have now. So let me get into this. If I wander into a discussion about Afghanistan, you know I'm on kind of the wrong page here. Number one, I have to thank Patrick Tooley for doing such a great job as the dinner chair this year. And thanks to Andy Wahlberger and Jennifer Heafy, who worked so hard on this event, and they do such a great job for Spire and everything else they touch. I have to say one special thanks to the board of Spire, and I've been on a lot of boards, and this is a great board. And, you know, Spire was sort of created 5 years ago by these people, and they really have done a great job, and they're gonna be even better going forward. Spire is a game changer for the Stanford University real estate community, and Spire is dramatically expanding what it does and its reach and influence inside Stanford and outside Stanford. Thank you to the members of the Stanford Real Estate Council who are here tonight. Real Estate Council is a very important group as part of Spire, and they have a great VIP list of the who's who. And thank you to all the generous sponsors and guests here tonight who are supporting this Hall of Fame dinner. Thank you to Peter Bedford and Kit. You are the greatest, so I hope you're still here. There you are. I've known Peter for almost 50 years, and I'm very honored to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with him. Peter is a true pioneer and real estate icon, as you saw from his fabulous video. And Peter and I also serve together on the Hoover Board of Overseers, and some Hoover people are here tonight. Thank you, Hoover. And for more than 25 years, and he's even longer. And Buzz is also, et cetera. So it's been great to serve with you on Hoover. My special thanks go to all the prior honorees, and I have to read their names. They're in the program, but each one of these people has been very special to all of us, and they are Don Cole, Bill Wilson, Henry Sigerstrom, Malin Burnham, Bill Tooley, Buzz McCoy, Bob Lowe, and Tad Taube. Let's hear it for the prior honorees. We thank these prior honorees for their great careers and distinguished contributions to the real estate world and beyond. You have been a great inspiration to all the rest of us and the next generations, plural. So, thank you to the video participants. Most of you are here tonight. I'm very grateful that most of the best parts of the videos remain on the cutting floor. The outtakes from the videos were hilarious. John Cushman said that some of his remarks were classified. He's a security guy. Ray Werda made me, this is true, he made me validate his parking ticket before he would appear on the video. It's a true story. McKittrick was there. He knows it's true. And Nelson Rising said that I have such a bad golf game, he hopes I might be a good attorney. Thank you to the great Alan. This is the good part here. Thank you to the partners, the great Alan Macken's partners, associates, and staff who deserve all the credit here tonight. They are the ones who represented our clients so well, were always willing to go the extra mile, and kept our clients happy. Thank you to my fellow founders. They weren't too bad. Alan Matkins, Mike Matkins, Brian Leck, John Gamble, and Rick Mallory. You are the best of the best. When we founded the firm a mere 38 years ago, we had very complementary skill sets, and we all shared the same core values, which have served us so well over all these years. And we all went to Stanford, which was a great common bond. We had, I think some of them even graduated, not sure. So we had a very special esprit, if I can say the word esprit, and a sense of teamwork, which was immediately recognized by our clients. We took our legal work very seriously, but we tried not to take ourselves too seriously. And here's to the founders. Thank you. Thank you also to Tony Natsis, who joined the firm in 1991 and became a name partner in 2006. He has made a tremendous contribution to the success of Alan Matkins since the day he got here, and he has boundless talent and energy. So here's to Tony. Okay. I wish these were tequila shooters. Right now we're airbrushing them in here. Thank you to Kathleen and our great family. Kathleen obviously was there from the beginning and helped us create and grow our wonderful law firm. Alan Matkins would be a vastly different place today if it weren't for Kathleen's influence on me and all my partners and all of our clients. Kathleen should definitely be receiving this award tonight. So here's to the lovely Kathleen. We'll cross over to the Federico there. Thank you to our extended families who are here tonight, including the Geilers, Ellises, and Sullivans. Yeah, you are the best. Our 4 little granddaughters are a dream come true for all of us. Thank you. Okay. Thank you to Lady Luck, and I mean it. In any successful organization, there has to be good luck, and we got our extra dose of good luck along the way. We survived and thrived through all the booms and busts. I also want to thank the great Alan Matkins alumni. Many of you are here tonight, and thank you very much. They are great people and great attorneys who have gone on to other pursuits where they are also very successful. We are very proud of you. And good news, many of our alumni have hired us to be their counsel. So we like you even more. Thank you. I want to dedicate this award to all of our friends and clients along the trail for the last 50 years, including past honorees and their great families. We have been blessed with clients who we liked and we trusted, and who were on the cutting edge of developing and investing in incredible projects. I dedicate this evening to all the great real estate leaders and overachievers, many of you are in this room, and to the real estate industry itself at large, including all the successful developers and investors that we have dealt with over the years who share certain common characteristics. And they are optimism, creativity, innovation, leadership, humor, I like that one, total dedication to their vision to build and improve the world we live in, the incredible drive to make their vision into reality. They have different personalities. They come in different shapes and sizes, but they all care about relationships. They care about friends and family, so it makes it easy and fun to work with these wonderful people in the real estate world and help them achieve their goals and visions. Many of you are in this room, so we can keep on visioning. So, our clients have been the best of the best. Together, I hope that we have made California and the world a little better place. The future of real estate is brighter than ever at Allen Matkins. We have the best young partners, attorneys, and clients that we've ever had working on exciting new projects. So, as far as we're concerned, the future is now. And so it's now time to celebrate the past, present, and future tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Fred Allen, ladies and gentlemen. Not only on point, but on time. Fantastic. Well, it has been absolutely a wonderful evening. It has been absolutely a joy for me to be here and to share this evening with all of you. As you see up here on the stage, we honor our Hall of Fame honorees each year with a chair. And these chairs are very special because they're handcrafted by an artisan in China who actually, when we took the first international excursion of Spire to China and went to the Stanford Institute at Peking University, we were amazed by the handcrafted wood that was in that facility. And that same artisan we have commissioned year after year to produce these chairs for our honorees. So we will be presenting each of our honorees with their chair, so they officially have a seat at the table, and each of their wives with a gift of flowers this evening as well. And I think Jennifer is bringing those up. And I would be remiss if I didn't take time to thank the people that make this evening possible. It is a sincere pleasure to be the president of an organization that has such a phenomenal staff and who executes so effectively with professionalism and with a smile in everything that they do. Particularly Nicole Medina, our member services coordinator, and Jennifer Heafy, who is our director of events, who puts on all of these wonderful programs. As I shared with you earlier this evening, this circuit this year for the Hall of Fame will be the last time that this gentleman serves as the executive director of Spire for these events. And I just want to share a quick story, which is that many of you might know that Andy and I were in Branner together freshman year at Stanford. So he was one of the first 5 people that I met on Stanford campus back in 1994. And I was thinking about it today, and Andy and I have now known each other for more than half of our lives, which is remarkable. And when I was at a point in the growth of this organization and I needed someone to turn to take the helm of the organization and take it to the next level, Andy was the person that I called upon. And without hesitation, he stepped up and said, I'll do it, I'll make the commitment, I'll stick with it, and I'll take this organization where it can go. And he's done a phenomenal job, and I want to take a moment to recognize him because there's a lot of credit due to Andy for everything that this organization is and everything that we've seen tonight. So Andy, thank you for your service. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. See you next year.